What's up, snobs? Shane here to give you my thoughts on In the Heights. This is the newest movie from Lin-Manuel Miranda, and this is an adaptation of the play that really put him on the map. Even before Hamilton made him a household name, this is the thing that he did that really got people's attention. And so I was really excited to see, how this came out, see if it lived up to that hype. And, the movie focuses on a group of young New Yorkers in a mostly Latino neighborhood over the course of a summer. And so it's kind of the perfect summer movie. So let's talk about what worked and what didn't work. As far as what didn't work, I don't really have a lot to say. I think if you're someone who hates musicals, like if you just cannot stand when people break out into song and start singing about how they feel, maybe you won't like this movie because it definitely is a musical. Also, plays tend to be much longer than films, and so most play adaptations are pretty long, and this one's no different. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it doesn't drag or anything. But the runtime is long. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Those are the negatives. There are times where I'll see a movie and as I'm watching it, I'll go, oh, I could nitpick this, or does that totally hold up? But sometimes you just don't feel like doing that. And this is one of those cases where the movie is just so much fun that I don't really feel like dwelling on any of the negatives. Like for me personally, those things didn't even stick as they would come up because the rest of the film was so enjoyable. So let's talk about what did work. When you're talking about a musical, one of the first things you want to know is, how's the music? And I thought the music in this film was great. I thought there were a lot of catchy songs. But beyond that, I thought the music serviced the story and the world building of this film really well. This is a movie that's very much about community and about this idea of, everyone that lives in a neighborhood coming together and being united. And so a lot of the songs reflect that. There's a lot of songs where even if a character starts off singing by themselves, the entire neighborhood joins in together. And so you get a lot of big musical numbers. There's one that takes place in a pool where you have a couple hundred people singing and dancing in a pool and around it, and that had a lot of great choreography. There's a lot of numbers that take place in the city street where the whole neighborhood comes in and joins together. And so I thought the film really, really did a great job of using the music to give you that community feel, to service the theme of the film. It wasn't just arbitrary songs thrown in because it's a musical and we have to have songs thrown in. They serviced the plot and the story, and I thought that was tremendously well done. Another standout of the film was the acting. It was kind of a bummer when I first heard that Lin-Manuel Miranda had aged out of that lead role of Usnavi, and that was going to be played by Anthony Ramos instead. But having seen the film, it's completely the right decision. Anthony Ramos is tremendous in the lead role. He was incredibly likable. He's very passionate. He has just this zeal for life in the film, and you believe this character. You believe that the people around him would love him and not want him to go through with the plan that he has in the movie because he's so well liked. And so I thought that was great casting. All the supporting roles work very well as well, but he is kind of the focus, and he's the one that carries the movie. If you saw him in Hamilton, from that performance that he's someone who could bring that energy, but there's also this ease to his character in this. He's very natural and cool, and so I thought that was a huge standout of the movie. I think this is going to make him someone to watch going forward because this is such a tremendous performance. I also think the film is very much about this Latino community in New York. And so, as someone who has proud Latino roots, as a proud Mexican, it was great to see that on screen. This is directed by John Chu, who did Crazy Rich Asians. And, when he made that film, there was a lot of excitement and energy about the representation that he was bringing to screen, about this cast that you don't typically see on the big screen. I don't remember the last time there was a major summer blockbuster where the most anticipated movie of the summer was an all-Latino cast. And so seeing that on screen was great. I was trying to think of the last time I've seen, a musical like this where they're singing in Spanish and things like that. It's probably been since West Side Story. And, famously, some of that cast is just white people in brown face. And so this was a cinematic experience I don't feel like I've ever had in my lifetime. And so just seeing that on screen, it captured that experience so well. There were characters that made me think, oh, that's like my grandma. Oh, that's like my cousin. That's like my Theo or Thea. And I really enjoyed that part of it. I think, it's not isolating if you are not from this culture. You're still going to be able to appreciate it. I liked Crazy Rich Asians, and obviously, that's about a culture that is different than mine. But I think when filmmakers take such a caring, genuine approach to representing a culture, and they do it in a way that is representative of the actual culture, it gives the audience an opportunity to appreciate it, whether they're from that culture or not. And so you're going to feel like family when you watch that movie. And so I really appreciated that aspect of this film. But beyond that, I think there's something about this movie that this is the perfect time for it to come out. I think that there is something that this movie captures that I felt was an incredibly important message for right now. I am so glad that they waited until now to release this movie, until they waited until, there's a time where theaters are reopened and, people are starting to feel safer going back out into the real world. This is the first movie that I've seen in a crowded movie theater. I've seen other movies, but the audience hasn't really been there. It's kind of been, we picked times where there weren't a lot of people there, and so, maybe at most there were 3 or 4 other people in the theater with me. But this one, because it was an advanced screening, it was packed. It was sold out. And so this was the first time I felt that feeling of, oh, I'm back at the movies. And, to hear people laughing at jokes on screen, to hear people crying. There was this, something that happens in the film that elicits a strong emotional response. And I could hear probably 5 or 6 people crying. And it was just something that I haven't experienced in a year and a half. To feel that communal experience was so reinvigorating. At the end of the film, people applauded, and it was like, I haven't heard that. I haven't felt that. I haven't felt like I've been part of something like this in such a long time. And I think this is the perfect movie for that experience, because this movie is very much about this idea of loving life, about this idea of not taking the small things for granted. I think that's, a message that over the last year and a half has become important to me, is this idea of not taking for granted the things that I used to take for granted. Those things that I haven't been able to do for the last year and a half. Going to the movies is one of those things that, I used to do it so often that I kind of took it for granted, and not being able to do it for a year and a half, I've missed it. And so to see a film that is very much about coming together and being a community and, persevering in the face of any opposition, and having just this endless hope and belief in each other, and having this patience and faith that we're going to get through this together, while, just spreading this message of love life, love your hometown, love wherever you're living right now, love the people around you, and don't take even the small things for granted. Seeing that on the big screen in such a fun way with a crowd who was loving it. I kept looking over at the people around me to see, their reaction, and people were just smiling from ear to ear almost the entire runtime of the movie, because it was just such an enjoyable experience. And so that's the best thing I can say about this movie, is that, beyond character and plot and all of that, this movie gave me a joy that I haven't had for a year and a half. This movie gave me an experience by seeing it in a theater with other people, and by receiving this message about loving life. It was an experience I haven't had in a long time, and I really appreciate that about this film. In summary, I thought this was pretty much the perfect summer movie. If you can see this safely in a theater, go see it in a theater, because it was the best theater going experience that I've had since theaters reopened. Just to be around people, it made me so happy. This movie just had such a positivity to it, and I think that's what really sets this film apart. You're going to hear this movie compared to Rent a lot, because, it covers similar thematic stuff. It's a group of young New Yorkers trying to, find their way through life over a period of time. And let's just be honest, Rent sucks. Rent is very famous There's some great performances, some great actors have come out of it, there's some great songs, but overall, Rent is, it sucks.
And I lowered myself beneath her swollen udder, and I sucked the sweetest milk I had ever tasted.
And the main reason for that is because of the attitude of the characters. Because Rent tries to capture this angstiness. And, you know, I'm sure at the time when it came out, it might have felt different. But, you know, 30 years later, watching it now, that angst doesn't age well. And so it feels almost like a whininess. Like the main character, Mark, I find to be insufferable. I think he's like one of the most annoying characters in any play I've ever seen. But it's because there's this like, feel bad for me, my neighborhood is changing and I don't understand the world anymore. And that is not really pleasant to watch. It makes you dislike the character, whereas this film deals with very much that same idea, but the characters are so positive about it. The characters are so, inspirational in that way, where they say, okay, our neighborhood is changing, the world is changing, so what? We have each other, we're going to keep celebrating, we're going to keep loving life, and you can't stop us. And just that difference in attitude completely changes everything. And so I found this to be much more enjoyable than similar stuff like Rent because of the positivity. That's what makes this movie so great. That's what makes it the movie of the summer for me, is that, it's going to be something, especially because it'll be on HBO Max, that you can just throw on and have a good time and, lift your spirits because it's so enjoyable and so positive. So for that reason, I am giving In the Heights 4.5 stars out of 5. There's some great Easter eggs in the movie for fans of Hamilton, so make sure that you look out for those. I thought they were really fun, including the one casting choice for a character that's in the movie for about 10 seconds, but I really enjoyed seeing him on screen. So make sure you keep an eye out for that if you're a fan. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more reviews like this. See you then.